fucking lopsided, but I guess this is what we're working with today.
This is what we're working with. Hey, folks. Hi, everybody out there in Facebook land, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Periscope, and beyonds, wherever you're watching from. What's up? It's Joy Sanchez, the goddess. I am back with another episode of ClapBack Queens, and today's really special because I got three people to talk to interview, and they're all powerful women. And we're starting with one that I've known a long time. I've been able to call her a friend, as well as like a faithful fan, which is like rare. That balance is very rare in life. So we wanna give a warm welcome to DJ Lobo Cop. Hey, shout out to your life. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Like the list that I found in honor of your show and in honor of a great artist who left us recently. I prepared. I brought a copy of your book to say shout out to this awesome book. So yeah, I'm a total fan. I got I just want to say, like, I love having a physical copy. Yes.
Thank you.
Tell me about your Mark West show, though. Like,
Oh my God. So
those,
it was great. Like it was really great. I tried some new stuff. Because this last couple months I've had a lot of time to just kind of fuse myself into one thing and figure out how all the things I do work together.
right?
Um, so being able to perform at the Mark West show really allowed me to like see if shit works or not, and it did. It worked really well. Friday night I did a spoken word piece, and then Saturday night I did this devised. It's actually better if you go down to six and go across. Um, I did this devised piece where like I incorporated movement and shibari before I did a spoken word piece. And I mean, I it could I don't know if what I was trying to portray came through, but people liked it. I'm not sure if they liked it because I was like kind of naked, or if they liked it because of what I was saying. But
No,
um,
no.
people liked it, and it went really well. So I'm super grateful to have had that space to just experiment and put that version of my work out there and get responses about it. So I feel really good about it. It was a great show.
I mean, what I ask you is your art, is it on display there still?
No, I didn't put any of my physical art up because they kind of were full of artists. Um,
Oh,
plus, I am still very nervous, and like the visual art that I've made is
right.
rather large. You've been to my home studio, so you see like what I'm creating on the walls, and
Right.
it's a lot. It's a lot. Like he has the space to house it, but I haven't asked him because it's not done yet. It's not complete. At least to me, it's not completed yet. And when it is, I'm gonna talk to him because I want to make it a traveling uh, showcase, and I
Okay.
want to be able to take the sarcophagus and all the art around into different places. So I really want it to be complete whenever I like put it out into the public sphere like that, because it will cost thousands of dollars, and somebody will buy it.
Especially the is it the sarcophagus that you
Huh?
did you display the sarcophagus? The
Yeah,
sarcophagus.
I have it just so I have it displayed outside my house
Okay, cool.
for now because a big part of that process was doing it in a public sphere to engage conversation with people that don't know what miscegenation is or how it still affects us today, um, or the fact that miscegenation is actually the natural way of things.
Right.
Um, Lots of people don't know about anti-miscegenation laws, and so in the whole process of like making that body cast, and then also with the display of it, it's displayed publicly so that not only can people learn, but like it's meant to engage people in a conversation or encourage them to have a conversation amongst themselves about and really just think about how these things are still playing out today. How like 100 years of making a natural act of loving someone, psychologically criminalized everyone that wasn't white in America. If you tell people, you fall in love with this non-white person, you're now breaking the law. That shit wreaks havoc, and it really settles in the psyche, so that today we're still in a place where black people can get shot in our beds, and it's our own fault. Like, it's justified. You know what I mean? That's a psychological thing that was seeded or over 100 years ago. It's a psychological thing that in America, people that aren't white are not human. You
Yeah.
know, um, and this is one of the many ways that like we perpetuated that and really, really kind of steeped it into the American psyche that to be white was the only way to be a full human. And I mean, shit, we're still fighting about shit like Roe v. Wade. Like, why are we still talking about women's bodies? You know what I mean? As a government, why are we still trying to take away women's rights to our own bodies? Why did Breonna Taylor's killers get, why did they paid a fucking wrongful death suit, but no one was charged with her wrongful death? Like, I don't understand that. How do you pay somebody for my wrongful death, but nobody gets charged with my death?
Yeah.
And these are just all things that, like, one of the ways that, it's seeded. Like I said, one of the many ways that psychologically, um, in America, non-white people are criminalized was through all these anti-miscegenation laws that took like 120 years to get overturned. You know,
Right.
federally. So that just shows you like where we're really at as a country. That was only 43 years ago. Loving versus Virginia was only 34 years ago in 1967. Oh, so yeah, 43 years ago, 1967.
Right.
Like shit. Some of our parents aren't even that fucking old.
Yeah.
So it's like it's also to add to that conversation that we're having as a country where people are like, oh, we're past this, or it's like this whole post-racial America, this, oh, that was so long ago. Like, nah, it wasn't really that long ago. It was in my mom's lifetime. You know, I'm 37. If I was born 20 years earlier, it would have been in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Crazy for people to like feel like, oh, it's not a thing, but we still see all of this shit happening. And as a black woman, I don't understand what else to do except make the art, talk to people, collect their stories. Like this shit I'm doing now because I mean, shoot, I feel like everyone that's not white, I'm very surprised that America is still intact the way it is. I'm not surprised at people finally starting to burn shit down, burning down fucking police precincts and whatnot.
Right.
I'm not advocating violence. I'm just saying that if people of color, if all people of color, right,
Right.
were to truly express the rage that we have inside of us, this country would not be standing.
Yeah.
We would be justified to tear this shit apart because
Yeah.
at what point do we get to be people? Like, at what point are we just gonna all fucking, and this is also why I love this time right now of 2020 where like the things, the conversation is in such a logical place, right? Where it's like the whole world is on the side of actual like right of common sense. Most of the world is on the side of common sense. It's right here, the third house on the right hand side.
So Joy, Thunder wanted to say hi. I don't know if you Thunder.
Thank you. Wait, what?
Okay, do you see Thunder?
Hey, Thunder.
He just joined. He's like, what's going on?
He probably saw that I'm approaching my sister's house and that I'm about to be inside with her cat.
No way. Really? Oh,
My,
so
shout out to my sister P. I hope you're out there doing fabulous art things in your life.
yeah, so he's
She's on
just
tour right now, and while she's gone, I capped it for her. Water the plants and feed her cat.
oh my god, I can't. I'm so excited to see that. Like the cat. I mean, I don't know why, but I just am.
Yeah, and he is definitely a little attention whore. It's like he has to be in everything. You can't have anything
Yeah,
to
not
yourself.
naming, but like, yeah, like, hey, how you doing?
Just give me 1 second.
Your time. Take your time.
So while
Hey, Gubs.
hi, Beachy. Cheers, Beachy.
Ah, hear sound.
Did you eat your food? You ate all your food? No, you got food, bro. You get it back later. He's so greedy. He wants all the wet food, like all the time. He wants all the wet food all the time. So I leave him with some dry food during the day when I'm not gonna be here for a couple hours. Because dude, dude was getting really big too. He was getting like super fat. There's a thyroid thing. So
I was just
yeah,
that all the
I
your.
think certain medicines. Yeah, I really did.
I love it. I was just thinking that you look like all the jewelry like probably looks amazing. Like the long,
Now, yeah.
it's like you've become a mannequin for your own style.
Yeah, man. I had to.
He do it for you? You did it yourself? Like what the hell?
No, I didn't do it myself. I would never do something so ludicrous myself. I don't trust myself with something sharp like that. Right? uh, fuck you, Prime. I don't care about you, Prime. What is going on? Okay. I'm trying to find your broadcast right now. I can't find it on my website. On the website. Here it goes. Yeah. Here it goes. I got it. Because I'm trying to get on my laptop. So I'm gonna mute for 1 second. Hold on.
Hey, you want me to mute?
Okay. Whee! Here we are. Here we are. Hello.
That's like audio fun. It's like we all do it when we like move.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this looks
Like
good.
I'm saying, like I had to mute one of them, and it still like ricocheted. The sound still ricocheted. Like horrible.
Wait, how did you do it? You asked somebody to do it for you? Because like
I went to my now favorite barbershop. It's a queer-owned barbershop called Camera Ready Cuts. Shout out to Kane Cutswell. And I went and I made an appointment.
Right.
And then I made an appointment and for the next day. And then I went the next day and cut my hair. Just, old school shave with the and the straight razor. And they did a really great job. It was, and it's funny because like I didn't not at no time did I have like any type of hesitation in this decision. Like, once the thought was in my head, like you should shave your head.
right.
I was like, that sounds like a great idea. And I went and, they even like when Kane came to the door, they were like, they looked at me with these locks and they were like, so you want to get a baldy and you want to cut all your locks off and get a baldy? And I was like, yep, that's what I'm doing. And like from that first cut, when they started cutting my locks, it just felt really good inside in my soul. I knew it was the right thing. It was the right move for me. And it was possibly the best thing I've done for myself this year. It just feels so good. The bad part is that my hair is growing back super fast. Like I already have like a low key fade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know people that after years of locking their hair, they did what you're doing. And the reason they did it is it was seen as a sacrifice, at least by them. And it was also that they wanted to start over. They wanted a fresh start. And you know what's funny is like Indians, like I could not pull off that look right there that you're rocking because you have a really fucked up head shape. Like, you know, it's like cone head, then my like a mango. So it would just be so even wrong, right? And so like when I was a kid in our culture, they force you to go bald like around, I want to say like maybe 9 or 10 something. It's like seen as a rite of passage, right? And when I had mine done ritual wise, like everybody was like cover her goddamn head up.
Wow.
Scary. Yeah, no, it's like forceps.
Like, nah, bro, your head though. Wow.
I saw my dad bald and I was like, oh, I got it from you because he had a cone head too. So I was just like,
man,
does not look right. Like if I could rock a proper head shape like you, yeah, that's different. But no.
I was really nervous too because I was like, oh shit, what if I have a fucked up head? Like I really had never considered. I didn't consider that until until Kane started like shaving, and I was like, oh shit, what if I do have a fucked up head? Like, because I've had a Caesar before, and I've had short haircuts in the past.
Right.
I had a Caesar for a while back. I was trying to find some water. A while back, I had a Caesar, like around the time I had my son.
Okay.
First time I cut my locks, and this was like I don't know 10 years ago or so. Because I was just fucking fed up. I was so fed up, and
yeah,
I needed something else. And so, but I've never byn bald, like just to cut, like shave it and be shiny and shit.
And do you feel like you can also wear like a wig you want, and like you can change it up like as much as you want to, probably?
Oh yeah, that's also my favorite part about this right now is the wigs. The wigs. I have started a wig collection that is going to grow to be pretty fucking epic after a while. And that's also something I incorporated into my performances is wearing wigs. And so I would go, like I went to the gallery on Friday and I had this little silver pixie cut wig on. And no one knew who I was both days. Like, and then Saturday when I went, I wore this really long. I got this super long, like mermaid wig. It's like a peach color or something like that. And it's beautiful and just looks really appropriate.
Yeah.
How come you can access my computer? But man, I hate technology. I plug my phone in and my phone's like not charging. It takes like 12 seconds to like catch up to the fact that it's connected to the computer. So yeah, I wore this like really long peach colored wig for that performance. And both nights, nobody knew who I was until I was like, it's Joy. I had to tell people who I was.
I love that. Fucking like I have had worn a couple of wigs like on top of my existing hair a couple times. I mean, it always looks hot if your own hair ends up showing up by accident underneath it, or you don't have the cap on properly or whatever. I found out that I look terrible in blonde wigs. Like I look awful. I pulled off blue and I've pulled off pink, but I have not pulled off blonde. It does not look right.
Not a lot of people look good in blonde. And I think that's just a point that more people need to take notice of. Like, I thought about getting myself a blonde wig, and I was like, nah, Joy, don't do it to yourself. I might still get one, and in the future, we'll see. But maybe not. I don't know. But see, we're talking about me too much. You do this all the time. Let me tell y'all, people. Let me tell y'all, ladies and gentlemen. Lobo Cop is like the master of like flipping shit. Like when she doesn't want to talk about her, she will become the interviewer very quickly. And we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you.
Okay, what do you want to know?
I want to know everything. I want to know what does RoboCop do? Yo, like this is something that I've always wanted to know. What the hell do you do? Because outside of DJing, because like I'll talk to you sometimes and you'll be like, oh, I just had to fly here, to some other country for like a week for work, and I'll be back. Like you're always traveling. So I gotta know, what is your day job, bro?
Bro, like I used to have a cool life. It hasn't been cool in a minute. So yeah, like back in the days, I used to work for like German publishing company. And so my boss, was German and living in Germany. So she had kids and she was like, I'm not traveling. Everybody that works in my team, you guys have to come and travel to me. And just the kind of work that I was doing was really basically like, this sounds mad, but it's not. It's like building strategic partnerships. Swear to God, that was my life. So like, you have to, pre-COVID, that meant you went in person, established a business deal.
Right.
So that was my work, and the kind of publisher that it is scientific, technical, and medical. So like if you're doing research, like if you're, for example, a pharma company or a university or you're a federal government agency or you're a corporation, doesn't matter who you are, you would use our content to do your research. So like, how like every time you and I do a Google, say you and I do a Google search on something COVID related these days or vaccine research, something, right?
Right.
A lot of the content that comes up, you won't even realize that it's being published by my former employer because they
okay.
a lot of the global scientific literature. And I don't know if you heard about this in the news, maybe not, but a lot of people were talking about it, and it was really funny because I was like, nobody knows my former employer's name, but this year, like it's people are paying attention because my cat is literally using box right now. It's like he wants to make his presence felt. Anyway, so there's a magazine called Scientific American, which has been around for a couple hundred years, I think. And they always took pride in being like non-partisan. They don't endorse anybody. They don't say anything. And they were in the news because the first in its history, they took out a whole issue and said, if you have science, you need to vote clearly not for the person who's in the office right now. So
right.
That was like before nobody knew who the fuck I worked for, and everybody would be like falling asleep with boredom if I would talk about like who I work for, what I do. But now I can just say, hey, that cool magazine that actually endorsed somebody? That was my former employer.
Nice. Okay.
So that
makes a lot of sense because I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah. They don't have DJs in Germany? Why are you always in fucking Germany?
Even how like you and I, we met up in Vegas accidentally or serendipitously. That was because of my former job, because I was at a conference in Vegas. Otherwise, there was no.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that's the only reason. But since then, I now have been working in the startup landscape, which is totally different. And it's a little bit soul crushing because in this life, it's really hard for these tiny, tiny companies to get funding and survive. So it's kind of like I went from working for a huge company to a tiny ass, company type thing.
That's trying, really trying. And you're like, I'm trying to try with you, but because I got bills too.
That's like what I did and what I do to put food on the table, if you will. But like music is like the thing that makes me Like I haven't done enough recently, but I feel like you can relate to this because it's like, you know how, do you remember a long time ago you would do these spoken word series where you talk about thriving, not surviving?
Yeah.
I feel I would often think of that, of how you would talk about that, or in like a session that you were performing, and like I feel like the last couple of years I've been surviving, not thriving.
Yeah.
So
Me too.
that's not a
Me
way
too.
creative. Like creativity cannot flourish if you're in this constant state of fear and anxiety and survival mode. And that's what I've been in. And like now
Oh
I'm
my God, yes.
so like, one of the reasons that I was so thrilled to, get your poetry book and between lines and hashtags, also to available on Amazon, which is awesome. But I specifically like when you were like, hey, do you want to do this show that I do? I was like, yes, because it forced me to stop hiding. I was like, my creative space was in disarray, everything was broken. So like this forced me to clean up. Like if you see my normal background, it's disgusting, it's not cool.
I feel like we're all like that though. Like until somebody kind of pushes us to do something, even creatively, like I was okay not performing
Okay.
until somebody asked me, until somebody invited me to something and was like, we're looking for performers. And I was like, I missed the stage. I missed it. I missed it so much. And it's like the last 3 times I've performed, I've been at Mark West's Center for the Arts. So shout out to Mark West. And the first time that I did it, he had me go first. And I was just like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. Right. But then I just did something and it made sense and it fused like all of the things I love, and it just felt so good. It felt like I was pushing all of myself out. You know what I mean? Like just really just expending so much energy that had me cooped up, that I didn't realize had been cooped up in me from COVID. Like I've been painting this whole time. And I've been writing. I have a book coming out on Friday. So I've been painting, and mostly painting. Like I haven't really been using my words, and part of that was because the way I processed this whole time of COVID was like, it really was just trauma inducing of like, I don't know what the fuck to do. And I didn't have words for anything. And all I was just like, I can just paint. And then like slowly my words came back to me. And also shout out to Lex, like the Avenue, for having those weekly quarantine dispatches from quarantine meetups, that really also was something that forced me to like see. And it wasn't even like we have to share all the time, right? But it's just like being in that place where people wanted to hear if I was working on something, or they wanted to see what I was working on. That really like inspired me to start writing again. And then now to be able to be on a stage every now and again is like a lot. And I shouldn't even say it forced me. I think it's allowing me to just really put out what I always knew I could.
Yeah.
And in a way that makes so much sense to me now and makes sense to other people. It doesn't have that residual discomfort that used to come with listening to my work. Because I know I used to make a lot of people uncomfortable with the shit I said.
I think that's the responsibility of an artist, right? Like I think you were saying that, you've been told that you look like Nina Simone, and that I think she said something about your responsibility as an artist, right?
Right. The Nina Simone said the responsibility of artists to write, to reflect the times, to to like basically report on what's happening. Like that's what artists do. And You know, and Maya Angelou too. There was a quote by Maya Angelou. I shared it a couple months back, where she's, and this is paraphrasing, but she says it's like, it's something, she says, it's times like these that artists don't have time to think. We just go into action. If you write, if you're a writer, you write. If you're a painter, you paint. If you're a singer, you sing. But like, you don't waste time in a moment like this thinking about what you want to do anymore. Like now it's kind of like go time. And I feel like that's kind of just it's happening with lots of different people in lots of different ways. We're all kind of like slowly adjusting to this new world and finding our place in it.
Yeah.
But I think the most important part is that we take our time to do it and not rush into it. That's what COVID taught me. COVID taught me patience and kindness, to like be patient with myself, be patient with other people, be kind to myself, be kind to other people. And you know, just continuously, not like sometimes or because the world seems we're getting back to normal. Like I don't want to go back to normal. I don't, and I don't think anybody should want to go back to normal. I don't understand what this obsession is with normal. You know what I'm saying? Like that normal didn't work for most of the people in this country, in this world. It didn't work. And you know, we're living in the results of that fact that like that way of life did not work.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do now? Like, how are we going to move forward? You know?
I mean, I don't think we will ever go back to normal. I think that I think we're all quite aware on multiple levels that that world is gone. So like, I realize that like, that, you know, it's like, it's kind of a fallacy, and it's kind of like it'll be dangerous to think that we're going to go back. There's no going back, and there's no, and I mean, I think it's a good thing, but it's also a frightening thing. Like, even though it wasn't the greatest world, I realized that I have been in mourning and I have experienced the grief, because everything that was earlier is gone and it's not coming back. Like people,
right. And that's also a part of it, right? Like,
yeah,
as a collective, we are mourning the loss of everything we knew, of operating the ways that we knew to operate, the ways that we thought was okay to treat each other. Like, I'm not saying that it was all right or all wrong, but just the loss, that loss is something that we all are kind of still mourning and grieving about, some more than others. You know, I miss getting up and going to work every day, but I also do not miss being undervalued at my job and underpaid at my jobs.
Yeah.
You know, I do not miss having my professional experience constantly questioned or second guessed or dismissed because of whatever someone's notion is of what I'm capable of. Like, I don't miss that.
Yeah.
You know, I just miss the work itself. I miss doing that work, but I don't miss everything that, all the shit that you have to swallow to do that work. You know,
you have that moved out of the city and that gave you any grief for staying?
No, my mom, you know, my mom lives in Amsterdam now. She's lived there for 5 years. And she was the smart one, right? So she got out. She literally left America a week before Trump was elected.
That was smart. Right? Smartest person.
I feel like she saw the shit coming, right? And I went to visit her. I took myself on my first grown-up vacation. No kids, no nothing, no work. I went to Amsterdam last fall.
Okay.
And I went to visit her. And I stayed out there for like a week and a half. When I tell you, I kept missing my flight by accident on purpose. Like, I must have missed my flight like 3 times. But on accident, on purpose. I just kept missing my flight because I just, inside, I didn't want to come home. I didn't want to come back here. But I was like, I got kids here. I got a job. I got it. You know, I can't just up and leave the country. I can't just stay. Right? That's not how it works. So I came home.
Right.
And then, you know, the week before this city shut down, I had an argument. Her and I had like a big argument where she was just like, you need to get out of New York. It's not safe. And you shouldn't go on tour, because I was supposed to be going to South by Southwest with Smokes and Jokes.
Right.
And, at that point in time, it hadn't been canceled yet. Nothing was canceled yet. And so I had these plane tickets. I had the hotel set. I was like, I said, I'm going to be there. And since nothing is shut down and it's still going, I'm going to go. And she's like, really, like, no, you need to not go. You need to stay there. And I'm like, fuck am I staying in New York for? I have no place to live. Like, for what? I can be homeless here, or I could be on this trip and still be homeless. It doesn't fucking matter. Right. And the day I got to Texas, it took me 2 days to get to Texas. My flight was like rerouted and everything. So the day I got to Texas is the day that everything stopped. As soon as I got to Austin that night, is when when Texas went into lockdown, and then the very next day, every state went into lockdown. So then it became a whole thing, and I was like, oh shit. I really don't know what to, like. I sat in someone's backyard. Like, I was at a stranger's house. Like, shout out to Marcus. Shout out to Marcus, and shout out to I forget his name. I don't want to get it wrong, but shout out to the person I stayed with out in Austin at the Artery House.
Not Vlad.
Not Vlad.
Okay.
Vlad's friend.
Okay.
I forget his name right now.
Yeah, I don't know the
But
name.
he's not music. He's like a music appreciator, but they use his house as the Artery House out there. And they were just so caring and loving for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, he would say to me every day. One of them would say to me every day, like, hey, you don't have to leave or go anywhere any faster than you can. Like, just take your time, know what you're gonna do, and then do it. Don't feel rushed. And then on the other hand, I had these other people that are trying to rush me. And I'm like, yo, I need a minute.
Yeah.
So the world just ended, dog. I just lost my job. I have no place to go back to in New York to live, because at this point my house was kind of messed up. The ceiling had fallen in, and just things had happened that I couldn't live there anymore. And my dad was in the hospital on top of it. So I was like, I'm not in a rush.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to my mom, and she's like, I told you. And I was like, you didn't tell me anything. You told me to just stay here and stay in New York and be homeless. But I'm really glad that I still went on that trip anyway, because that was like the point where, like, I had to go on that path. I had to still take that trip. I still had to go, because what that allowed me to do was not be here in New York, where I would have panicked.
Yeah.
And I would have been pushed into like despair very easily. When I fell into that place of despair, I was in the most loving and kind environment I could have been in, with people that actually cared about me and were giving me the time and the space to figure out my life, right? So I found a sublet, and I sat in there, like, I sat in the backyard crying, like, just crying for like at least an hour. Like, God, I don't know what to do. I give up. I fucking give up. And that brought me back here. So now I'm in this sublet, right? And the whole time I'm in this sublet here, that was a saga of its own. I would talk to my mom, and my mom would be like, I don't know why you don't just go live with your brother in Virginia. I don't know why you don't just go here, go there. And I'm like, why do I have to keep moving myself I'm tired. I am tired of surviving. That's not the wave I'm on anymore. And I don't know if anybody noticed, but in a pandemic, like, we are all entitled to our humanity. We're entitled to certain things. And in a pandemic, I think it's okay that I'm a little freaked out. I think it's okay that I'm a little traumatized. I think it's okay that everybody's a little traumatized. It's just like admitting those things. And, my mom and I, she still was like, you should go live with your aunt, or you should go down to and my brother too. You need to leave that city. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why? Why? Like, I don't belong anywhere else but this city. That's why I keep coming back to it. You know what I'm saying?
It's like who literally dipped out of the city in March, and I literally began to feel like I was the last person left at some point in Harlem. And I remember just like, especially when it was like there was no one in the streets, like, I literally was like, oh my God, if I die, no one will even know. Like, I had all these scary thoughts.
We would know.
Oh my God. But like, you have crazy thoughts. But like, I also, I could handle whatever was happening because I was home in New York City. Like, I don't think there's anything, that I could have I would not survive somewhere else. Like, this is home. So
facts.
yeah.
Oh, and this is always going to be a home, right? Like, I've been traveling for a long time, since I was like 7. A lot of people don't realize this. I've been living by myself since I was 17 years old.
Remember that. Like,
Yeah, I left home at 17 and ran away to North Carolina, of all places.
work too? Did you have a job where you would travel for your job? Like, yeah.
Yeah, there was like when I initially went to North Carolina, I went to live with my brother, and then I got a job on a traveling sales team doing door-to-door sales. That I traveled like all year round. I was always in a different state, and even after that job, I would leave New York and I would go to Vegas, or I'd go to Cali, or I'd always go someplace else for a couple months or even a year, and then have to come back to New York, because I'm like, I'm not built for any other place. I'm too big for these ponds. Like, just, I belong in the ocean. Like, and I can't, even now, like, everything I went through had me thinking about buying land someplace else, because I'm really big on this idea of ownership. I really and truly am at a place in my life, and I've been there for a while, right? It's part of the reason why it took me so long to find a place to live, because for a long time, I was very more dedicated to the idea of, I'd rather buy something that no one can take away from me or kick me out of than keep paying rent that's the same amount as a monthly mortgage. Like, I'm done with that, right? I've been in New York long enough. My first apartment cost me $600 a month, and that shit was a 2-bedroom. You understand? Like, the fuck? Now you can't get a 2-bedroom for less than 4 times that.
No, girl, I miss my apartment in Philly. So, like, I left home when I was 18. Before that, I was in boarding school in Delhi with a bunch of kids.
I saw that picture.
Dude, in those photos in like 20 plus years, and I was like, holy shit, who is that girl? But like, that was, it was really difficult. Like, from age of 15 to 18, I definitely struggled because I'd never lived outside of my house before. I didn't realize, like, all the things I took for granted, like, somebody to tell you you're home, somebody to yell at you, like, why aren't you, like, doing what you should.
Somebody keep you on track.
Yeah.
Wake you up on time or pay that light bill.
I remember when I would visit home a while from school, because that place was like an academic boot camp, and we were kind of like locked up with each other. And when I tell you, I lived with 11 other girls in a room the size that I'm talking to you from. It was as military style as, like, no TV, no nothing.
Wow.
It was mapped out, and like, you had no freedom, no liberty, no nothing. But in a weird way, it shaped me. Like, it gave me a sense of discipline and a sense of foundation within myself. And it was the hardest experience of my life, actually. But like, after that, I think you can relate. Like, I wasn't afraid of anything after that, because like, I went to college after that experience in America, and I would not have survived that far away from India and my family and everything else. Even though I'm an American citizen, like, I hadn't lived here, I hadn't grown up here. But when I came back at 18, I would not have survived if I hadn't already gone through that boot camp before. Yeah. And like, when I tell you that I was hungry all the time, we didn't, always have enough to eat at that school. Like, we were growing teenagers, and I had no boobs, like, because I was so hungry all the time. Like, legit, like, but then I remember my family telling me, like, when I would go home, my mom was like, "You're so grateful these days. Like, you've become so nice. Yeah. You appreciate what you don't have when you're like forced to leave home at a certain age." And then, like,
exactly.
But the good thing for me was, like, I was in Philly and I was 18, and I, like, at 19, I had my own little shitty apartment in West Philly, which I swear to God, I was too naive and too dumb to realize that I lived beneath a crack house. But and that's not like a metaphor. Like, I actually didn't know. And like, but
wow.
Like, wow, this is so cheap. This apartment is so cheap. $270 a month. $270 a month in rent I paid at age 19, 20.
Wow.
And so like, but I feel like because of those experiences, when the pandemic hit and I had that feeling of like, oh, I'm alone in the world in New York, it reminded me of being 15. It reminded me of being like
that too, that part, right? It's that I said something to the effect, and I keep saying this and I'm gonna keep saying it. I said, now everybody knows what it's like to be Black. And somebody was offended at that one day, and I was like, I don't care. I'm not saying that Blackness, like everybody Black struggles. I'm just saying that the majority of us do. There's a certain amount of struggle and hustle, right, that you have to have in order to survive as long as we have. To, like, to be able, I don't often talk about my childhood, but when I moved, I grew up like kind of upper middle class until I was about 10. And then I moved to the other side of Eastern Parkway, which was like stereotypically Black. And that was, the struggle part, the ghetto part, right? That like when I was living at my grandmother's house, I was never allowed to go to that side of Eastern Parkway by myself. Like I wasn't allowed to go to Bushwick, or I wasn't allowed to hang out in Bushwick. Like Bushwick, Ridgewood, Williamsburg, like all the places that I now make art at, that everybody's they were dangerous places. I wasn't allowed to go to Bed-Stuy. Like, so it was kind of a culture shock to me to move to the hood.
Yeah.
And learn this, right? So I adjusted over time and I learned how to survive. I had to learn how to survive. And I find that now that survival came in so handy, because while everybody's running around here, oh my God, what do we do? I'm over here like chilling.
shit.
I'm prepared for this. I know how to eat off of $25 a week. Like I know how to eat healthy off. You know what I'm saying? I know how to make a whole meal if I don't have gas. I still know how to cook like a whole, feast with electricity, just microwaves and hot plates. Not saying I've had to do that right now, but there's certain things that come with survival, that like I will say I used to really be upset. I don't like being called strong because I don't think it's a compliment. I think it's strong is something like there's many different ways to have strength and develop resilience, but I think that being a strong woman, I don't see that as a compliment, because like I don't want to be strong all the time. Sometimes I can't even handle all the shit I carry, like, but I know how to not show it, but this is probably the only time where I've appreciated that strength I've had to have. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, I got a potty, so I can't take the camera with me. But what I can do and what I will do, I'm gonna take a quick break. And while we take this quick break, I'm gonna play for the people.
Okay.
For the people. Like I said, Lobocop is a DJ, and we're gonna get more into that DJ talk. We're gonna talk more about the music in a moment, because I really want to know how you became a DJ of all things that you could have possibly been. Good, this is a 13-minute mix too. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to play one of the mixes that you sent me last week. Simply because I have to stop them.
Track.
And this one is the Thunder and Lobo live mix. So now we're getting into one of your mixes, and I'll be back. Hey, and we're back. I'm back. The music has stopped. That was one of you're muted, baby. I can't hear you. Cannot hear you. I see your lips moving though. Hello. No, still no sound. What happened? Oh no. We can see you. We can't hear you. I'm gonna try something real quick. Hello? Try coming back into the studio. I don't know. Is your phone on mute? Is your volume down? I don't know. Yeah, try to go out and come back in. I don't know why we can't hear you, love. That's so weird. No idea why we couldn't just hear you. So we're gonna try to let her come. She's gonna hop out and hop back in. We're gonna get to talking about music makes the people come together. Yeah. Excited. Yes, that was a sound.
Okay, now.
Damn, now we got you back.
Okay, word. That was weird as fuck. But I want to ask you something. Do you know if the audio was still playing when you left? Because I didn't hear anything as soon as you left. So I don't know if I didn't hear any music when you left.
What? That whole time?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what it is? I think I might have to do it. I wish I knew that nothing was playing that whole time.
I mean, I didn't want to be rude and disturb you in the bathroom, but I was just like, I think it's dead air right now. But like, maybe it's like if there was some kind of mute all function or something, but it doesn't matter.
You know what it is? I think that's what it was. I muted my mic, and that's probably what made the music mute. Well, I just learned something new about StreamYard. Because on Zoom, when you share something on Zoom, you can specifically share your computer audio.
Yeah, you can.
Right. So in this screen share with this, when you try to share your screen, it only lets you share the computer audio when you pick another tab on your Chrome, not when you use a different application. So I'm guessing that me muting, hold on, because let me see it. Try to play it again.
Okay. I mean, I think it's good to know for the future because I don't know
It is like I really did not think.
But I appreciate you for playing it though. I mean, I don't give a fuck.
It'll work better. Here we go. Nah, because like I really want to play this freaking song now. Like, nah, be like, that's a dope mix. You sent me mad dope mixes. Like these shits were fire.
What did you? But like, wasn't it cool to hear Oheni's acapella start that shit off? But like, legit, like, sounding kind of ominous, right?
Oheni always sounds ominous. It's his tenor. It's the tenor of his voice. Like it's. Oh, see, I just downloaded it though. See, that's what I'm talking about. I don't like this thing that you used to send it to me.
If I was deaf, I would search to be free.
Oh, wait.
But I know that we can never be. I will speak to you with philosophy about philosophies and not lie to you. You don't have to lie to me. We lie together. Crack a smile together. Let you talk to your kinfolk. Don't worry about.
Can you hear it now?
Forgive you, and I will send you, and I will live you into the future. If I was deaf, if I was breath,
and if I
was whatever was left.
I was just gonna say I need acapellas from you.
Yeah, what do you want? What do you want?
I want any. creating that I can get vocal. Do you know that how I first knew about you before I met you is Henny had a track. I don't know if it's fine wine or something else, and it's like you were talking in French in front of the beginning.
French
And,
champagne.
What was it called?
French champagne.
And I kept saying, "Who the fuck is that? Who the fuck is that?" I hadn't even met you, and I think it was a couple of years later that I met you, ironically. But I knew your voice before I had ever met you in person.
That's dope. That's
so
dope.
Isn't that crazy? And so that's
You're
why
also, you know what? Also, I
What?
feel like that's just Bushwick life because you're not the first person to tell me that. Like I have found that many of my associates and friends, past and present, will know me before they met me. Like they knew who I was. I've even had I even once had a girl run up to me at a party and start kissing me, like just like, I love you so much, you're Joy Sanchez. Oh my God, I love you. I follow you. And I was like, okay, thanks. Back up a little bit, personal space. Yeah, like really interesting that how that happens. You know, I didn't, you know, I don't, you never really set out to do these things, but it's always awesome when somebody can tell me that, like, yo, I know who you are. And I'm like, well, we just met, you know? I also just learned that someone is writing a part for me in a movie they're writing, like specifically for me. I was just like, wow, like I'm flattered. Like, I don't even know what one says to that. Like,
you say thank you, please. Thank you.
yeah, I just said thank you. Like, I'm so flattered that that is happening. So apparently I'll be acting and singing in this thing. And they're like, the part that I'll be playing is written specifically for me, specifically for my voice. All the songs that I'll be singing are written with my voice in mind. And like, it only freaks me out because like, I didn't know I was being watched like that. You know what I mean? The person who's doing this for me is somebody in my dad's circle, right? One of my dad's circle of friends. I didn't even realize I had been being watched like this, or that like I had become so impressive to would be doing something like this for me. Like that means a lot these days.
Yo, that's the thing. And I can't think of a better way to be a project than to have something that only you can play the part of. Like you are not replaceable by definition. So that's
right. That man, what that has done for my egos is like great. I want to ask you because you know, you're this person. How did you like form this like deep love affair with art that you seem to have? Like you are kind of like, I like to call you like like just a independent art critic. Like you're always kind of finding things and people and music. Like how did you develop this affinity?
Segue because I want to show you the cover of this.
Yeah, shout out to Nicole and shout out to what's her face? What is her name? Who does the magazine? Marietta.
Erica Schreiner.
Erica Schreiner. Shout out to Erica Schreiner. Shout out to fucking Nissa too. That whole Living Gallery Outpost crew. Like shout out to them. They're amazing folks.
Yeah.
Wow.
Creators
It looks so good.
It looks.
And I feel like a jerk now because like I was supposed to be writing interviews during quarantine because I had the idea that I'm doing now, exactly what I'm doing now, these interviews that I'm doing with folks online. I had told Erica about it when she reached out, telling everybody she was doing that, and I was like, oh, that would be dope. If I could find a transcription service. The transcription service that I did that it didn't work very well for my files. So like
Gotcha.
I was just put it off. I put it off and now I feel like a jerk because that magazine looks amazing.
Yo,
it looks amazing.
It was amazing because it's like by the process of doing it that way, it was kind of crazy because like I didn't use a transcription service. I was just old school. Me and my friend Lauren Gutierrez, who's in, you know, who we were interviewing each other. She's a dancer and I'm a DJ, so it's very different. But she was in New Orleans, and so like we were doing it on the phone, and or Zoom actually, and it was like when you have to keep going back and repeating the sentence like 18 times to type it out accurately, but you also like really listen to the words in a very different way. And it kind of alarmed me. Like when I read the transcript, I was like, holy shit, like certain things became evident because of having to transcribe it. So it was an awesome exercise. And every magazine is dope. And Erica Schreiner, Analog Cinema, is dope. And, you know, like Nicole Goodman cover. This is like the most haunting image like ever.
Yeah, that is one of my favorite images of Nicole. She and her work, I think it's really the perfect image for her work, because that, to me, her work is kind of haunting. You know, I find threads of her work just kind of popping up all the time in my life that really make me I didn't recognize it until this year really how much a lot of my friends' work actually affect and craft my whole persona, help me craft my persona, you know. We were having a really great discussion one day. Nicole and I were talking about the use of spectacle in our work and why she crafts her the Ain't I a Woman series the way she did. And I was like, wow, I never thought of adding spectacle as a tool or using it as a tool, right? You always think of it from the other way of being made a spectacle. So, and just like that one conversation is really heavily influenced my current performance works, where I'm devising all these things and trying all these new ways of kind of communicating shit that I've been sitting on forever or just been saying forever.
Exactly. No, so it's what you brought up is really important. You asked me a question that I didn't.
That you still haven't answered. You're not slick. You're not slick. I'm glad you called that out. It's like, you asked me a question.
So honestly, like, I didn't realize how important community is to me, because when you're a DJ, you can totally fall into the trap of thinking, because it's not quite the same as being a member of a band. You can kind of just live in your own little bubble world and do your own thing a little bit, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
So, but like, I didn't realize into the pandemic how dependent I actually am on the creative content and input of everyone that I know. And to answer your question, it's funny. I was laughing and then feeling a little shy when you described me as a cultural critic. But then I thought about it and I was like, it's not that I ever intended to do it, but it's like my way of DJing. And this is also because of what I learned from the DJs that taught me how to DJ, is that you're constantly listening and curating, constantly paying attention. And now, of course, it's interesting that DJing has also begun to incorporate a visual element, because everything, you don't. When I first started out, I DJ'd on this internet radio station called We Take No Requests, that was broadcast out of Williamsburg, this place called Superman Loft, and it was not video. There was no live streaming technology available then, so the only thing you could do is audio, right? But to be able to DJ at all, you do have to constantly pay attention to what's happening in your world, like what is being put out on pop culture, what's happening in media, what's happening in politics, what's happening in like TV, what's happening pretty much on every imaginable platform. And so like every DJ that if you really look at their sort of social profile, if you look at the way they present themselves, they typically do have like a hand in technology, a hand in visual art, they have very strong opinions, because like you can't actually DJ without having an opinion, and you can't be a DJ without also in some way being a critic, because just the act of deciding who you're going to play, how much of that song you'll play, you're constantly making decisions, and those decisions come with a very strong opinion. So like I didn't realize that that's how I came across, because I was just living my life as a DJ, listening to literally everything.
Like I never even thought about DJs like that. I mean, I do think about the music. I think about like the music and I always think about it from like a mathematical standpoint. We're like lining up timing or like and creating like just creating moods, by like being able to guide people from one place to another. Like, I know DJs that like are always on 10, and then I know DJs that can start off slow, get it hot, and then bring it back down when it's time to leave. And you kind of know by listening to them. But like the music itself, like the math of the music will just line up all the way through. So you don't even realize how naturally in line you are with these, especially if you got good transitions. I want to also like give you flowers for that. Like, you are one of few DJs that has great fucking transitions. I can't stand when DJs do shit like abruptly stop some shit, or like they just switch to a whole nother song, a whole nother groove. They got no type of connective tissue. You know what I'm saying? It's just like all bone. There's no fucking connective tissue. And it's just like, oh, that's hard. That's harsh. It's harsh to the eardrums sometimes.
No, thank you for that. Because, I had some teachers that were really like DJs that are at the top of their game. So you probably have heard of Scratch DJ Academy, which was founded by Jen.
Yes.
Yeah, but like we're talking 2004, when the school was brand new, and this concept that DJing could be taught or learned was revolutionary at that time, right? When I was in college in Philly, I ran with a crew of friends that were all skaters and DJs and artists. And so like, it was something that was always there, and I knew that I wanted to do it, but I didn't have money or access to turntables or the ability to learn. It's just something that either people at that time that
and you could use their equipment, or like you could buy your own equipment. Those were like the only two
ways to learn. And I mean, the interesting thing about it is that like it was also a culture that was very much a subculture. This was not the time when DJs had headlines, or it was very much like an underground thing, and it was also like a pillar of hip hop always from the beginning. And like
one of those things that wasn't emphasized as much as the MC or dancing or even graffiti. Like, it was one of those pillars that people kind of forgot about.
You forget about it, but it's like, it's also interesting that like, it's been pointed out to me by people that are truly from the hip hop culture or founders of it, or who actually lived and grew up in the Bronx or Harlem, that, part of it was DJing came about because a lot of the schools didn't have access to instruments. So like you kind of you were a musician, but you maybe didn't have access to a classical instrument. You didn't have the money for fancy violin lessons. So, but you grew up in that culture, like you did what you could. And so like
you probably had you might have had a record player at home.
Exactly.
And your parents had records, and you just like fuck with them.
That shit when they weren't home, because you would be beat up if you scratched a record. So like, so it's like that's the real genesis of it. And so like for me, like I was really lucky, because at that time in 2004, this school by Jam Master Jay was new, Scratch Academy, and at that time we had people like the Executioners, like Mr. Sinister, Rob Swift, one of Fifth Platoon members, like turntablists like Excess, DJ Neil Armstrong, who was Jay-Z's DJ. Like we had DJs that were at the top of their game, coming and teaching people, like humble people like me. And like at that time I got lucky, because this is before people realized that DJing could be a franchise, or that the school could be profitable. So this was still like an experiment. And it's like I had face-to-face time and attention from some of the best DJs, and my actual DJ
valuable too.
Yeah,
I say that like a lot of people don't realize how much that even with my MCing, like I'm only a beast now because I learned from some of the best in the world. And like I got to be friends with some of the best in the world. You know what I mean? So like that kind of camaraderie and mentorship, like that low-key mentorship, is like so invaluable. Just being able to sit in a room with folks and watch them work,
exactly.
Pick up a lot. You pick up a lot.
And I mean, my best teachers and my very first DJ teachers, I think it couldn't have been more perfect. They were these two guys from upstate New York, like Italian American twins, identical twins. One was called Damage, the other one was called Verge. They've since moved away from those names, but it was crazy because what you have is two identical twins training you at the same time. And they were scary as teachers. They were so like drill master and precise. So you know how you're talking about transitions, right? Like people take a lot of things for granted, right? These days, like if people hear me put a mix together, they might not even pay attention to certain things like that. But the real truth of it is that I had these identical twins that were incredible masters of their game and turntablists, like making me almost reach the point of tears by criticizing how shitty and sloppy a lot of my DJing was. And I was horrible in the beginning, right? And for a long time, many years.
Yeah.
Like,
most people trash when
say what?
I said most people are trash when they start things. They don't realize.
No, I mean, like you have to really want to do it and have a thick skin if you really want to do it, because like people will laugh you out the room like a lot of times, and that's what happened to me. But I kept at it. And like it's so funny, like now today I take for granted certain things that I do, and you also take for granted how easy DJing has become, right? Because like, you have apps on your phone, you have like controllers and software that makes it so different now. But like I started out when people had to help me carry my fucking, like, you know, like turntable mixers, vinyl, a nightmare. So it's like if you were half-assed about it, like if you had to really be committed, and it took where I was in like half-assed good. And now it's humbling because now you have so many DJs coming up that are like 10 years old, 5 years old, and they're DJing like incredible. And you're like, holy shit, like now it's like an art form that's respected, it's accepted, but the barrier to entry is a lot lower too, you know? So it's like, it's exploded, you know what I mean? And then sometimes I wonder, I'm like, what do I really have to contribute now? Like, it's not like I do crazy tricks, or it's like, I'm not like, I don't exactly know why I'm still relevant, or do I still have something to say? But then I think about it and I'm like, I may take for granted my journey as a DJ, but I think that probably has something. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I make any sense, but you know,
you make total sense. I think that, you know, and that was one of the things I kind of struggled with during COVID too, right? This whole time where I'm sitting by myself. I've had a lot of people show their real faces. A lot of people that, you know, I came up with learning my art, like honing my craft with, you know, so I'm over here building with folks, and like same folks who thought I was dope, you know, last year, now is like, I don't want to fuck with you. And I'm like, I don't understand what's happening, right? And that really made me question my own artistry. It made me question if I'm any good as an artist, right? Like, and what am I really saying? What do I actually have to contribute? If one day I'm dope and the next day I'm not, because you don't like me as a person anymore, right? And you won't even, you know, I'm not even trying to open that can of worms, but like, it was just this whole, it really was an internal battle. Like, am I really even a fucking artist if none of it was real? Was any of that real? You know what I'm saying? And what am I saying? And it really made me question myself and question what I'm doing with this art, what I'm trying to say. Do I have anything left to say? I've said so much. Do I have anything besides anger? Do I have anything besides rage? Like, you know, what the fuck am I doing with my life? What have I been doing with the last 10 years? And then I decided, well, you know, this is the perfect time for me to just fucking do whatever the fuck I think I'm supposed to do, right? To put all of myself into this, because maybe that's the only way for me to find my voice. And then once I found my voice again, I'm like, and watching news, realizing, yo, there's always something for me to say.
Yeah.
You know, there's always something I do always have something to say, and like having to be like, you know, and just really, really focus in on the fact that like, no, I wasn't, all of that was real. You know what I mean? Because I really believed it and it was really happening at that time. And so I want to believe that everything I've accomplished means something and that I still have something to contribute. And I think like, you know, and that's the whole way that ClapBack came about, is that, you know, I feel like the ClapBack is, you know, ClapBack culture is something that we've been building for a long time, and just deciding who we want to be and deciding that we're going to say what we want to say. Like, yeah, I do have shit to say. Yeah, somebody does care about it, or somebody does kind of feel like I feel. And you know, that I feel like there's a social responsibility. You know, a lot of people in the world are talking about like this broken social contract. And I feel like the social responsibility that comes with being an artist, especially like an artist of color or a woman artist, is that we have to keep speaking. We have to keep saying something. We have to keep using our voices, because our voices were never a part of the original social contract to begin with.
Right.
You know, so like I have an obligation to my ancestors to speak, you know, because they weren't allowed to speak, or they weren't allowed to read. They weren't allowed to write. They weren't allowed to do these things that I totally probably take for granted. You know what I mean?
Shout out to Chris Carr, Thoughts of an Angry Black Man. That's the shit that Are You Okay? Annie, Are You Okay? Put that unique fucking typeface up, which I kind of love. But like, I bring that up because like, you and we met because of the Brooklyn wildlife scene that we were converging in. But the reality is, like I told you, I always thought of you as Joy Sanchez first and foremost. It was never because of any scene or any platform. Like, I knew of you through Harlem from, you know, the work that O'Henny was putting out years ago. I'm talking like 2000.
Yeah. O'Henny, you know, and it's fun. O'Henny is someone I met through Brooklyn Wildlife. And one day, I'm gonna tell you about that record. Shout out to O'Henny Cornelius. Got his new album, Revolutionary Ratchet, shit's fire. And anyway, I met O'Henny through Brooklyn Wildlife. And I remember one night we were having a jam session at Chris's house, and I was singing, and Chris was like, "Yo, you should sing more." And I was like, "Okay." Okay. And so like a couple days later, I get this call from O'Henny, and he's like, "Yo, you free tonight?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm not doing anything." "Yo, I want you to come to the studio." And I'm like, okay. For what? He's like, "I just, you know, I want to work on a song with you." And I was like, and it meant a lot to me, because O'Henny, let me tell you about O'Henny. Henny is one of the first men.
Yeah.
I'm specifically talking about men now. But he was one of the first men that ever followed up. Actually, he was the first man who followed up on his "I want to work together" shtick. And really wanted to work. Like, he didn't call me, it wasn't lip service. He didn't call me out to some place and then try to fuck me, right? He didn't try to fucking have sex with me when really I came to work and you came, like, we were on the same page. It was great, right? So he sends me this address to a studio out in Greenpoint. And at that point, Greenpoint was not as built up as it is now. So I go out there, it's like, past the BQE underpass, right? You know, when you get out by Pete's Candy Store and you got to walk through under the underpass, right? So it's like all the way down on Lorimer, and like it's like 10 o'clock at night. The fucking place, it looks like the beginning of a Law and Order episode. And I'm like, shit, I better not die. And I go to this place, and it's like the studio inside of a former warehouse, of course. And we just sat there. He gives me like a bottle of wine and keeps playing the track. And he's doing this. He's like, "I just want you to do something in the beginning." Yeah. And then, you know, just did it out. So I sat there. We sat there for about 4 hours. Maybe it took me about 4 hours to write that poem that's in the beginning. Yeah. And the hook that I do at the end. Right. And we recorded it, and it was a song. It was a song, and that's how I thought I was gonna die, but really I just made a really dope song with it.
I always hold on to those archival tracks, and I make sure that I keep track of an artist's like trajectory over time, you included, because some of those things are timeless. Like they will come back later. And so going back to you, right? Specifically.
Me specifically, okay.
I'm just gonna say, like, I know what you mean. Like, I can empathize because, like, speaking of Lawrence Street, like, my very first DJ crew used to, like I said, broadcast a radio station out of this Superman loft on, like, South 2nd, basically, and, like, Union Ave. And so when I left that crew and I was on my own all of a sudden, I really felt lost from the perspective of who the hell am I? What is my point of view? What do I even have to say as an artist or as a DJ? And it's the same thing. It's happened to me again and again. It's like I always find that I have something to say. I always find that it's not even about whether other people find me relevant. I still have something I want to express through DJing, right? And it's like, I remember you, and it's funny, I met Oheni in like 2004-ish. And it had nothing to do with Brooklyn Wildlife. It had nothing to do with anything like that. And it's the same thing. Like it was like a totally through a Harlem friend circle, an artist circle. So Oheni has seen me as a DJ when I was just starting out. And then he's seen me, live my life in different kind of ways. And it's like one of those things where it's like, I don't really hang out with certain people all the time, but it's like, that they're always there, if that makes any kind of sense. And I always kept track of what Oheni was doing artistically. And the same thing with you, because like I never really put you in a particular scene or in a particular collective. Like I never thought of you as you're tied to something. Rather, I always thought of you as Joey Sanchez. Like it's the funny thing. I'll tell you a fucking funny story. You may not remember this, but I remember. I just remember thinking like this girl is mad dedicated. Like, that's the thing. Like people think that like, if people are paying attention to you now or they always have, but let's say they're inviting you to be in certain plays or galleries or they're writing parts for you. But like, I feel like you've been working and working and working and creating nonstop. So like, I just remember like the art lover days where I feel like you would be in like a million shows a day, I feel like. And I just,
there was a time, where like, I was always performing. I was super hungry.
Thing that to this day horrifies my soul, but I just remember like you were working I think you had like 2 or 3 shows that day. You were doing something for Art Lover with like Dale Novella, and then you did something else in Brooklyn Wildlife, and I was literally like following you around that day, like in Brooklyn, like going different places.
I know that day was
do you remember? It's like
that was one of the Make Music New York days.
Exactly. And
I think I had like 4 or 5 things booked that day, and I just kept going from place to place to place.
I don't even know what's happening, but like the funniest shit was that some of us who always were in Brooklyn at that point, but we all lived uptown, we knew what it was like to stay awake and take the train for hours to go home.
Right.
So sometimes we would just end up in the buddy system and take the train back uptown together. And I just remember you wearing this beautiful sweater jacket thingy. And in the pocket, you had stuffed a piece of chicken because you were so
oh shit!
You were so hungry that you were.
I remember that shit. Yes, because I had made. This is what it is. One of the places that I had went.
Yeah.
They had food there, but I didn't have time to sit and eat it.
Right.
So I just put the chicken in my pocket and I kept it moving. And I remember like I was on the train starving and I was like, oh, I'm so hungry. And I just looked, I was like, right, I got chicken in my pocket.
Drumstick out of your pocket. And I'm like, what the fuck are you eating right now? Because I'm thinking it has wool, sweater shit on it. And you're like, I'm really hungry. So
I was like, I don't care. And that's the other part. I was so fucking high. I think I smoked like 10 blunts that day. And just like, it was at a point where like, when you smoke weed, you get hungry sometimes, but if you just keep smoking, sometimes you forget that you're hungry.
Right.
And then you keep smoking, you get to this point, your body's like, bitch, are you going to eat or what? And that was the point I was at. I didn't care what was on it. I remember I was like, I don't even care. I destroyed that chicken.
To me, that was to me the Joy Sanchez experience, where it's like, this girl is so dedicated to her craft that like she will eat a drumstick
out of her pocket.
and keep going, keep creating. And it's like,
yeah, like, and people don't realize, like, I was, you know, now I sit up on my high horse and I look at my former self and I'm like, damn, that was one of the things that like really, you know, again, it's like having time to really just look at how dedicated I have been, right? Because there were times where people didn't realize I was fucking homeless sometimes. I was working a full-time job. I was raising I was, you know, getting divorced, going through a fucking messy ass divorce. You know, I had 2 young kids. At one point in time, I had 2 full-time jobs, and I was sleeping on the trains. And people that like, I remember coming around with like, I used to have this big ass army knapsack, and I would get on the train with whatever I was done with my day, my last thing, and I would get on like the D train or the A train because they're the longest lines, and I would just pick a car. I would sit down with my knapsack between my legs because it came up to about here, and when you put it on the floor, and I would just pray real quick and be like, please God, don't let nothing bad happen to me. And then I would just like go to sleep on the train for 6 or 7 hours, and then get off the train, go to like a Planet Fitness, take a shower, change my clothes, brush my teeth, and then go to work, like keep it moving. I did that for a long time. You know what I mean? I've slept on a lot of people's couches, and I don't, you know, I don't regret it. Like now I don't regret it. I think all of that was really necessary for me to just be able to be in this place in life now where I'm still extremely grateful. Like at the end of the day, and that's something I appreciate about you too. Like not only are you super humble, but you're always so fucking grateful for like everything. And you're always smiling. Like you have like the best fucking attitude of anyone I've ever known. You know what I'm saying? And that was wild. Like, again, that's why magical shit always seems to happen with you. Like meeting you in Vegas was like, people don't know what we're talking about. So 5 years ago, when my mom moved to Amsterdam, I flew out to Vegas to help her, you know, pack up her shit and move to another country. And so I go out one night. My mom had just left. I was still by myself out in Vegas trying to figure out how to get back to New York. And I was like, I'm just going to go to the strip and I'm just going to fucking go to the strip and chill. And I'm walking around Caesar's Palace and I hear my name outside Caesar's Palace. And I fucking turn around and it's Lobo in Vegas. It's like, so we went and had sushi, and I think I drank a whole bottle of wine, and then we parted ways.
That shit was so rad. And people really thought when they saw us post on Facebook that we had planned it, but we didn't fucking plan it.
Right, we didn't plan that at all. That was complete like just serendipity. That was just complete serendipity. Like I did not go to Vegas to see you. We did not plan to go to Vegas, and it was dope. You know what I mean? It was really dope. That's one of the few times I've ever like been out of New York with friends and had a great fucking time. Like that dinner was fucking ridiculously expensive, but it was delicious.
It was so good. And it's like, you know, it's when you think about it, that was literally the last time that I remember the world being the way it was before the current administration. So to me, and if you remember, you were talking about how your mom had the foresight to leave.
Right.
So that was like a moment in time when I remember I had this feeling of dread. Like, you know, that Venetian on the strip, like in Vegas, where I was standing there and watching the fountain. And I just remember thinking like the world I know is ending. And it's like, it was not even like, you know, like I think we think that the world ended because of the pandemic, but I really feel like the world has been ending for a long time. And, you know, in Vegas, I remember feeling comfortable and safe and at home because I saw you. And I was like, I don't even know how this happened, but I'm just going to, you know, like say thank you. I was so happy to see a friendly face. But I remember when I was by myself for the rest of that trip, I just had this horrible foreboding. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's just example of how like all we really have is our community. All we really have is, you know, that human connection. Like honestly, that's all we fucking have.
Yeah. And it's so important. Like it's so important. I miss people. I missed people so much, so much. And, you know, being able to like be out now, like, here's the other thing that I've developed. I love being in my house. I love my house. I
Yeah.
now understand why no one wants to come over. Like, everybody wants you to come to their house because it's really nice. Like, even right now, like, I'm cat sitting for my sister, but every night I keep going back to my own fucking house, sleep in my own bed. Like, I just feel so good in my own bed. And my roommate's like, why don't you just stay there? Stop going back and forth. And I'm like, I would, but my bed is just so comfortable and just like perfect for my body. It's got all the lumps the way I like it. Like, it's just like, there is something so amazing about having your own space. So like, you know, I relish that, but I also miss people a lot. Like, I love being able to go out and talk to people again. I'm not even annoyed at all of the temperature checks because it's so necessary. The one thing I do want to really try to do, though, is take a trip, because I also have had enough of this city. I have had enough for now. I just need a little break away, you know, come back refreshed and replenished. So we'll see.
Yeah,
Probably not leaving the country, but definitely going to go see my brother in Virginia. You know.
But you know, I'm, you know, at the height of when we were all like running around in the scene before the pandemic, I think like the measure of a good night would be like how many parties you hit, how wild did it get, and almost like I forgot a little bit of like conversation vibe.
Yeah, I realized that too.
And it's like now, like this right here, I'm at home, you're at home, we're just
Yeah.
like we're vibing. I mean, is it fucking like this? It's not the same as sitting in a club and wearing something skanky, which believe me, I've had my day. But like, you know,
I don't think I've ever seen you in something skanky.
well, that's sad because I had a moment, but I think it was pre-Facebook. So that might be good. It might be for the best. But like, I remember the other like I was at a house thing in Brooklyn, and somebody looked at this dress that I'm wearing like literally today, and oh, such a nice plaid thing, and I was like, oh god, do I really look like fucking, I don't know, homely? But then I was like, I have had my day, trust and believe. But like I guess what I mean is like when I was in that mindset, I really forgot that a big part of everything that made it special was the simple conversations that took place on a subway train, or like it's when it's the end of the night or when you're getting ready to go out, not really when you're. So it's like, you know, and I think you get so caught up in like being seen and being cool that it's like you forget that like a lot of what actually matters is simple stuff, right? And it's like I feel like this has forced me to reconnect with people on a genuine level, because like before it was
Yeah.
a whole lot of bullshit. You know? And it's so funny, like the friendships are definitely changing. Like some things are just falling by the curbside, and then like some things are, you know, like some things are just, it doesn't matter what like channel the conversation takes place on. It's the same as if we were at a studio, if we were at a club, or if we were at a gig, it's the same vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like I mean, and I treasure that. I do miss going out, and I miss like that whole world, but like this is not bad at all. Like if I, you know, if this is what we're now left with, it's not bad at all. Like I'm grateful, if that makes any sense. Thank you for having me, Joy. Can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot to unmute it because I was trying to like post a quick video on Instagram of this conversation. Like, this conversation is so good. Like, let me tell you, it's like straight life for me. I agree. Like, it's, you know, I like the fact that things are changing though. I like to say, I was saying that like the world had to be put on timeout because we were just doing the absolute most. Like, we were just wilding. I think the world was starting to wild the fuck out. You know, collectively we were wilding out. And as individuals, I think that was it was not the best look for us. You know what I'm saying? We were really starting to get to this place of like being with all of this technology, right? Where everybody can be a star now. Like, everybody's an Insta model or this or that. It's like we got so wrapped up in the technology. I think it kind of destroyed the human connection, right? Because now there are people that I've known for a decade that think they know, like, I haven't talked to some of these people that the friendships that I've had to let go of because it's like, you haven't even sat down and had time with me in 6 months face to face, or a year even in some cases. And yet you look at my Facebook or my Instagram and you believe that that's all that I am, right? That's all, like, or it was because I often have temper tantrums online. It's my Facebook page. I'm allowed to do that. It's my page, like, but it's a venting thing for me. Like, I don't ever, at least I never call out anybody's name, right? When I talk about a situation or a feeling I have from a situation, I never say so-and-so did this. I will always be like, yo, well, what is it like if a friend tells you this? Like, am I not supposed to be mad about it? Right? I always talk about me. Like, I keep it focused on what I want to vent about. My feelings from a situation, my confusion, my frustration, blah, blah, blah. People will often call themselves out and then say I was spreading their business. I'm like, no, I'm spreading my business. You're the one who came through and said your name and took responsibility for that. I didn't tag you. I didn't write your name unless I did that specifically. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about me on my page. I don't see what your problem is. Right. And it made me think, like, yo, a lot of people got other people fucked up because of technology, because now, you can Instagram your life. And if that's all people see, that's all they start to believe and all they think you are. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing as my frustration around being an artist sometimes, where I used to get off stage. People would love my work. They tell me how great my work is, how much they love it. And then they wouldn't talk to me for the rest of the party because all they had was that, they're left with that, that discomfort that I caused, to them from my work. So now I'm an angry Black woman and nobody wants to talk to the angry Black woman. And that's all I would be sometimes. There would be no conversation past my work, right?
I know that you had that experience.
Yeah, that happened often. It didn't always happen. On the East Coast, I'll say it's more subtle.
Okay.
But on the West Coast, on the West Coast, there was a blatant. It was more blatant. Like, it would really be like, oh my God, like, that was so great, so amazing, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, that was the end of our conversation. And, like, I literally felt awkward. Excuse me for 1 second. I literally felt awkward the rest of the time trying to talk to people because it was like they didn't think I guess, and this is my most educated guess, but I really think that they could not see past my work. Oh my God. Fucking A. I need to take another Benadryl. They couldn't see past my work. And so, it robbed me of my personhood. And I see it happen to other artists all the time too. It really is a thing, especially when you're a Black artist that talks about race or the effects of racism in your life, and your audience is primarily white. White people get very uncomfortable. You remember all those series of poems I used to have, Dear White People? Yeah, like, that made a lot of people uncomfortable, and I would have to have stupid conversation. And I think it was also part of the way that I dealt with the conversation afterward, because it's like, I'm not the representative of all Black people. You want to learn about all this shit that I was just talking about? Like, you really just learn that this is the America I live in? Okay, check this out. Go to a library. Try Google. Don't try me. Like, I don't have time to teach you. You know what I mean? Well, I don't understand why all of these things that are still being talked about, still being fought for, still being discussed in our work, I don't even understand why this is still a thing in America, period. And frankly, I personally I got tired of talking about it too. So, now I'm just.
Wait, can I ask you a question?
You can ask anything.
What in the Stallion piece about how she feels like she has to explain why she would want to protect Black women? Like, what did you think of that whole backlash that she's been getting
from her Saturday Night Live performance?
That too, but she wrote an article for the New York Times where she's like explaining like, why do I have to constantly defend the SNL performance in general? Why do I have to explain that we do need to protect Black women? Like, she was talking, and on Twitter she's getting a lot of backlash from people that are like just totally trashing her and dissing her all over.
I haven't read the article.
Okay.
I did see the performance. Personally, I loved it. I loved every moment of it. I'm so proud of her for being an artist that is dedicated to using her platform for something that matters.
Yeah.
Right? She's not, and there's nothing wrong with being an artist who's not engaged in political conversation. But I think that her, Cardi B, you know, artists like that are like and yo, we can talk about this for hours, but this is my analogy, right? People like Cardi B, people like Meg Thee Stallion, people like Saul, the poet Saul, people like Black Thought, people like Toby and Wingway, people that know that they have access to millions of people, that they have the attention of millions of people who are also a part of this social contract that's been broken, and apparently don't realize the life of Black women, that like we really are still the most disrespected, fucking unprotected and dismissed people on the face of the planet. And it shows, you know. I think that she's doing exactly what she should do as an artist, and specifically as a Black woman artist. She is speaking on a truth that exists in this world, that continues to exist in this world. Shit, I talk about how Black, you know, I think all of those people need to sit down and really examine how the fuck Black women are treated. The fact that, what's her name? Jenner.
Kylie, Kris Jenner? No.
Kristen?
No.
Is that what she calls herself?
Kylie Jenner?
No, parent.
Kris Jenner.
Kris Jenner.
Yes.
No. Her
No.
wife. Her wife now.
What?
Formerly known as Bruce Jenner.
Oh, shit.
Forgot her name.
Me too.
Anyway, the point is, she was made Woman of the Year.
Word.
A couple years back, right? Here's this white trans woman who literally just transitioned, not for nothing. You just got here to the party. How are you Woman of the Year? How? When there's somebody like Laverne Cox that is constantly advocate, like who transitions a long time ago, is more relevant to the culture, and is constantly paving a path for other women. How was Laverne Cox not in that conversation? How was Ava DuVernay not in that conversation?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? How long you gonna overlook people that, you know what I'm saying? And just the fact, like, even to tie it into Bill Burr's, because people are backlashing at Bill Burr. A lot of people talking about Bill Burr's comment piece where he like basically told white women about themselves. And I thank Bill Burr for saying that, because only a white man could talk to white women about themselves like that, because that's the true fucking fact. Yeah, you did it, right? Anti-miscegenation laws are part of that. What made white women so fucking problematic? The fact that they had the option to cry rape when they were found with a Black man and threatened with going to jail. I'm not saying they all did, but it made it possible for white women to have that out, and always have that out. Always have that out when it comes to Black men. You know, it made it possible for white men to assume this this identity of being easily swayed and seduced by the Jezebel, the Black woman who's always a Jezebel or seductress, or, you know what I'm saying? These things, and that we still are portrayed as today. that in order to, I'm sorry.
Do you think?
Hello? Okay, I'm coming. That's my food. It made it possible for the black woman to still be seen as a Jezebel, right? And if you notice, in order for any of us to get famous, to be famous and make that money now, black women specifically are hypersexualized. And the problem only comes with our hypersexualization when we use it as a tool for our own empowerment. Then we're exploiting ourselves, right? We are not allowed to use our sexuality for our own empowerment, but let somebody else use our sexuality for their dollars, for capitalism, and it's okay. These are all things. I think that she did exactly what she was supposed to do with that platform. And that's the space. That's what SNL is, a space for. It's always been a space for artists to be contradictory and cause a little conflict, shake shit up. I'll be right back. My food, yeah. Yeah, I think she's doing exactly what she's supposed to do. There's also this thing that has been spoke about somewhat on different levels, right? A lot of people used to ask, well, when things would happen, why isn't Jay-Z speaking up? Why isn't so-and-so? Yo, I think she's fulfilling the social responsibility of her artistry, by utilizing all of her platforms and speaking on shit that like people don't want to hear about. I don't know who's causing her backlash, but I feel like they're probably white people, specifically white men, who don't want black women to be empowered. That's it. Like, it all relates, that's why we have this double standard when it comes to women.
Right.
If I've been called difficult so many times, I've been called a bitch more than I can count. And I have watched people in the mainstream, in corporate world, in the fucking communities I have been a part of, also exercise these double standards with black women and they enforce double standards with black women and white women, and with black women and men.
Yeah.
Because I tell you, I'm not calling no names, but I am saying that there are folks who have made me a demon for some of the habits that I keep. But also work with men who keep the same habits.
Right.
And it's like, oh, I thought you didn't like people that did that. You'll call me an alcoholic or say I drink too much, but you only pay me in drink tickets.
Right.
And I don't see you saying this same shit to the guys that are there becoming hella drunk, sometimes a little handsy, sometimes a little disrespectful. But what's that my business? Who am I to speak? I'm just another black woman trying to live my damn life.
Like saying that, and I think thank you for sharing that, because I think it's really important. But I also think, when I started DJing, I would say I was pretty uneducated. And I've been really fortunate to come across artists like yourself, and also some of my own friends, people I've dated, people I'm friends with, who have said to me, you have a responsibility, to understand the history of what you're taking for granted. Even the art form. Like, do you understand what the roots of it are? Do you understand the history? And even, people who are, especially, people who have lectured me, like, do you understand how it actually began and how hip hop comes from that tradition, and how, like, do you even really understand like the roots of oppression, the roots of resistance that are like,
right.
And do you also understand the consistent erasure? I don't even know how to pronounce the word. Erasure? How do you pronounce it? Yeah, so it's like the erasure of the people that created all different because, like, honestly, like in jazz, for example, like we would have these conversations about how, like, now I would always think like, man, there's a lot of white people playing jazz, but it's like you don't, and it's like there's a lot of DJs where, and I would include myself in this category, like, I'm not necessarily from the culture that I have benefited from, right? Like, but it's like, and then, you can go further. Like, Prince had a DJ called Pam the Funkstress, who, is from, I think, Compton, but it's like, you're not going to know about her the way you know about.
Who knew that? I didn't know that. I'm a huge Prince fan.
Crazy. She died, unfortunately, shortly after Prince died, which was like weird and scary, but it's like, wow. He was a sick turntablist. Like, I'll send you a routine, and it's like, the thing is that she's not visible. She never got that shine. She never became named to that. Like, if you know, and you would pay respects to her, but do you really know her? No, you probably have heard of, not you, but kids today have probably heard of.
No, I never heard of her either. Like, I didn't know that Prince had a turntablist. Yeah, like, I didn't know he had a DJ. I never knew that.
The black woman, and it's like, you have like DJs like Spinderella and everybody else that like, they are the real DJs, right? And it's like they made it possible for other women of color, and then women, period, to DJ. But it's like, but if you really look at still today who gets attention, right? And we can switch the conversation to jazz. We can switch the conversation to electronic dance music or electronic music. And it's like, how many people really know about Jeff Mills? Like, we hear a lot about, like, I mean, there's so much of that goes around all the time. And I mean, it's like in the beginning, like, I had to really humble myself and listen and like really hear jazz musicians express their frustration, or hip hop DJs, or people that have really helped found the scene. Like, I had to really listen to them, go back and really try to learn about how this was a systematic occurrence.
Right.
And even to this day, like, how many DJs can I name that are either Black women or minorities of some kind that are really, really in the top earning?
I think I can only name Coco and Breezy.
But other than that,
outside of Coco and Breezy, no, I can't really even think. Maybe.
I mean, there are some DJs that are well known and they do probably make good money and they are well respected. There are quite a few, actually, when I think about it. Like, gigs, there's other.
I do.
But again, but it's like, it's not at the it's not at the level that it should be. It's just not. Or, for that matter, DJ Honey Dijon. If you want to talk about trans women who have been fundamental to the culture and, the history of dance music, DJing, and house music, period. It's like she's only getting her shine like very recently. She hasn't been mainstream for long enough. So it's like, it's interesting to see that you're right. This is like a pattern that plays itself out. And it's like, like, it's okay to, I guess, if I'm hearing you correctly, like, it's okay to use you as a prop, but it's not okay if you use yourself, your voice.
Yeah, I mean, and I find that to be a thing with women anywhere, just like this is, capitalism is kind of built on exploitation, right? And so, it's the same thing as like, I mean, I equate it to the same way where like, you couldn't be 100 years ago, it was illegal for me to be educated, right? To know how to read and write. And really until like the 60s, the 1960s, women didn't start going to college until then. Like, our only function in the world was to get married and have babies. And anyone who functioned outside of that purpose was crazy.
Yeah.
Like literally, there was a time in America until like the mid 70s that they would label shit like being any type of queer person, lesbian, bisexual, trans person. You were actually labeled with a mental disease and given electroshock therapy. Shit like that was like, yo, the fuck? That's how we operated until like 40 years ago as a country. You know what I mean? Like, I can't, you know, so I won't.
So,
I just
girl,
won't.
And my cat is throwing me major shade because it's past his dinner time. But like, I just wanted to tell you, like, please have me back whenever you want to chat. Because like,
yes, we're gonna talk. I'm gonna email you about that because I want to have you do the election stuff with me. I really want to, you know, make it a panel thing.
Down
Like you, I think it'll be you, Cass Weidenbrenner, possibly Nicole Phoenix, if you're available for that election coverage. Because I really want to have a panel of people to talk to. And, you know, if the world ends, my guys, we got to come up with a plan. This nigga cannot. Do you see what this guy is saying? He's basically trying to throw a coup. Talking about he's not going to let power be transitioned. He's not going to. How are you not going to accept the results of a fucking election? If you get voted out, get the fuck out. This nigga's trying to start like he's trying to think. Oh my God. So we got to come up with a plan. We got to talk about this. We got to thoroughly talk about this. We got to joke about that fly on this guy's head.
It's like, you know what's funny? It's like for me, it's like it's just an excuse to just fucking shoot the shit with you because I really just enjoy like hanging out with you and talking to you. So it's like anything you want me to do, just let me know. But like I'm just thrilled to do it. Just let me know. It's Maddie to do it. Happy to do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
A lot of love, and I'm sending you love from this fucker who's like, thank you, girl. Thank you.
Shady cat. Now you want to act like you don't want to talk to nobody, shady cat. He's over there trying to look away. I see you. I see you, shady cat.
Total
shady cat from now on.
Well, enjoy your dinner, girl. I miss you, but
this is horrible. It's horrible. Just it's not bad. It's like good. It's good, but it's just cut improperly.
What'd you
so
get?
A lot of muscle where I have like muscle and connective tissue, which I shouldn't have in my sushi.
Oh no.
The downside of being a chef is like I'm so hypercritical of food. I'd rather cook myself. Like I should have just cooked myself something instead of ordering food, but I was being lazy.
Call the soup. What do we call it? The try something. The soup you made, which was like crazy.
Oh, that it's like a chicken vegetable soup.
Oh, you are, and I mean the crazy thing. This is your Gemini shit. Like I don't know, you can do so many things that I'm just what the fuck? Like
I don't know. Like I get it from my dad because my dad's my mom is a Gemini. And my dad is a Pisces. But my dad is also like a Jedi, a master Jedi Knight. You know what I'm saying? And he thinks like, I don't know. I think it comes from being up under him whenever I was able to be up under him.
Right.
He still gives me books to read. Like he reads books on string theory for fun. So I think that's where I get it from. Like my brain is always going. It's actually really annoying most times. And I'm learning how to just, focus it and not always be so active. But I don't know how to not do all the things. And I don't know how to not. My mom used to say either I'm all the way in or I'm all the way out. I never even when I half-ass shit, I'm still putting 100% in. Like my 100% is me half-assing shit. You know what I'm saying? Like unless I put all of myself in it, so it becomes really a thing. Like I've always been supported in the cultivation of my mind. And so I guess it's just become a thing where like my brain just works in these mysterious, abstract ways. And the only thing I could do to not go crazy is just do all the things all the time. learn as much as I can. I still got space in there, I'm sure. I don't know. I've been learning so much lately. Like, I will say that, like, I love this about the pandemic too. It just made me realize that I can still teach myself. I can still learn things. I can still teach myself things. You know, and that's really all we could ask for.
Make me want to step my game up. I was embarrassed after hanging out with you, and I was like, holy fucking shit. 18 things. She's also raising her kids, being all the things she has to be, and her house looks like a museum, and she can cook, and she's pretty. I'm like, what the fuck do I do with my life? What do I do with my life?
I don't know. Just be your best self. Like, that's really it. Like, like I said, my house only looks like that because it's really just, having had the time and like to be able to unfold myself bit by bit and really be able to like just carefully curate my life. It's let me do it internally, externally. I don't know. I just try to be my best self. That's all. Like I said, that's all we can ask. Like, be your best self. Because some days my best self is me being trash. Sometimes I'm absolute trash some days, and that's my best self for that day. It's like the most I can do is wake up and not get out of bed.
Well, you said something to me when the pandemic first started. I think depressed. I was just anxious and scared. And you said to me something about every day. I think it comes from your dad. It's kind of like all the wisdom that my mom and dad have given me. It's like it comes to you at the weirdest times. And it's like you said something that your dad said to you, which is like every day lay that brick. Like whatever it is.
Oh, yeah. He had sent me a thing. It's like it was an interview that Will Smith was doing. And Will Smith had said in the interview, Will Smith was like, most people set out to like build this wall, this monument. He's like, I never set out to build this monument. I just told myself that every day I'm going to lay this one brick as perfectly as possible. And just every day I just focus on doing, on laying that one brick day by day. Yeah. Maybe I lay 2 bricks some days, but you do it brick by brick. You don't just go out there and put a house up. Like, you do it brick by brick, and by laying each brick perfectly, as perfectly as possible, at the end of the day, you end up building, a couple days later, a couple months or years, you end up building this huge monument that's so strong and just indestructible and beautiful. And so I took that advice to heart. Like, I was just like, word, that's what I need to do.
You helped me, because now I try to say that to myself on the days that are not great. I'm like, did I lay a brick or a pebble today? Because and then there's I got to keep that in perspective. It's not about being like perfection overnight. It's like
it's about progress. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. Somebody was saying, if you aren't growing, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you shouldn't be the same, right? People, this is the other thing. There's this thing about people be like, oh, you acted brand new. Yes, I am. Because I've learned and grown. And I'm not that same person I was before. And frankly, if you're the same person that you were last week or last year or 10 years ago, there's always parts of you that will never change, right? Your foundation will never change. I know that at my core beliefs and the things that guide me through life, that has always guided me through life, that stuff will never change. But everything else about me should be malleable. I should be able to change my mind. I should be able to change my opinion. I should be able, you know what I'm saying? Because if you can't change your mind and you never change your opinion, you can't make space for anybody else but you.
Yeah.
And like, I don't live on this earth alone.
No,
so I should be changing. And it's all right if you don't want to. It's all right. It's like, every day doing the absolute most I can do is enough. Like, every day is enough. That's my mantra right now. It's like every day, anything I get accomplished, it's enough. And I'd be like, good job, boy. You woke up. Good job. More.
You're an inspiration to me, and it's like you're an artist that I'll never be bored, because like you're always you're like onion with layers. It's like there's always some new dimension, some new shit, and it's like I look
like onion.
And then by tomorrow, I don't even know what it's going to be. So it's like, thank you for that. And thank you for giving me that inspiration. Like, because of you, I literally was like, oh God, let me like fucking dust some shit. Get my life. So thank you.
I'm glad I could inspire you to do that. I think that's also why I left my laptop at my sister's house, so I came here to broadcast. Also, her house is way cleaner than mine right now. So I was like, she's all organized and shit all the damn time. I'm just not.
So I respect you for that. So thank you for having me, and just let me know about the election thing. I'm down. Like whatever.
I will. You know I will. I could talk to you forever, Lobo, but I want you to go feed your shady cat. Thank you so much, so much for being on here. I can't wait to have you back. I'm gonna thank you again to Lobo, taking out time to like just kick it with us. That's the ClapBack, right? That's also the ClapBack, guys. Like being able to just make time for the shit that you find important, you know, living your life. So as we mentioned, I do have lunch to eat. The sushi is horrible, but the shumai is great. So I'm going to get my food on and take a little break, a little me time, you know, rest, regenerate. And, I'm going to get back to y'all. I'll be back in about an hour and a half with a double interview. That's right. We are doing a double interview because that's the ClapBack. Do whatever you want, okay? 7 o'clock. We'll be talking to writer extraordinaire Jennifer Love, and at 8 o'clock, 8:30ish, we'll be sitting down with Jesslyn Blue. For real this time, yeah. So come on back later. I'm gonna grab some food. In the meantime, guys, keep on choosing to be yourself because everybody else is taken. God is out.